that is less crowded on the road to success than the road to mediocrity.
What's going on YouTube? It's your boy Pooski and welcome back to another video. And if you say that I'm wearing the same hoodie again, or no, I'm racking off these videos. Y'all thought I was playing, but I'm not. But today we are going over the Just Bear. Look at that, getting sponsors back. I love it. I love it. I miss the days that it was the Denny's PBA tour, and then every time it was a different name on each PBA event and sponsored by somebody different. Lumber Liquidators, Brunswick. I miss that about the PBA. I miss that old school feel. Honestly, I do. Even though it was kind of in your face, I do miss it. But yes, the Just Bear, which is a vegan company, I do believe. I thought it was something else because, you know, you hear about Just Bear. If you know, you know. But yes, we are going over another PBA event and another recap. This time they are bowling on the PBA Viper 37-foot pattern. And the step ladder finalists are number 5, Zachary Wilkins. Number 4, a man that has helped me with my spare game and some bowling stuff because I follow KR Strike Force on Instagram, Benji Martinez. Number 3, Kyle Troup. Number 2, Marshall Kent. And then the number 1 seed, E.J. Tackett. And without further ado, this is like EJ's like 4th straight TV show, ain't it? God, dog, that man's a legend. That man is a certified bona fide legend. Let's get into match 1. Zachary Wilkins versus Benji Martinez. Now, Zachary hasn't been on TV since the Mark Roth, Marshall Holman doubles way back. I don't even know how long ago it was, but I remember seeing him on that, and Benji was on it during COVID. I forget what year that was, 2020, 2021, one of the years for the regional, when they did it by region and then they sent all the players to a certain spot to do it. I wish they would do that again because that was cool. You had the Southwest, the West, the Central, the East, the South. I like how they did it in the North. I like how they had it all separated and then they just brought everyone to one place to bowl each other. That was truly cool because you got to see faces that you don't really see on TV and get to know players that you don't really see on TV, like I just said. But anyways, let's get into the match. So both of these players decided to start off with the black 78U hammer. I shouldn't say 78U, that's for the IQ tour, right? So let's just say 78 hardness. Your thing? Black hammer. And with Zach, he starts off and he leaves a 10 pin, but he picks it up. Like I said, Benji also starts off with the black hammer and leaves the bucket on his first shot. The nerves, the jitters, of course, your first time being on TV in a long time. You got your family behind you. I gotta get it out of here. But he picks it up. Benji goes on to the left lane, second frame, and he puts a little bit more shape on the ball, but this time it leaves a stone 9 pin, and he picks that up also. Zach comes up and he leaves the 2 pin in the second frame, and you can just tell that these two guys, both of the nerves are kind of hitting them all at once. So they're getting off that feeling and trying to lock into this match. And Zach does as he goes on to strike in the third frame.
Now dealing with a medical emergency, our thoughts and prayers. And there's a pumped up.
Benji comes high in the third frame to leave the 4 pin, and he picks that up, and he finally strikes in the 4th frame.
Here, he strikes.
Now Zach 2 pins on the right lane, and it looks like this right lane is kind of tricky, and it looks to be the struggle lane for both of these guys as Zach moves on to the left lane and he strikes again on that lane. So this right lane is just a struggle right now. Now Benji throws a beautiful ball in the 5th frame, but he leaves a 10 pin and he picks that up, but he leaves a 4 pin in the 6th. Benji continues to not be able to catch a break in the 7th frame, but his spare game is locked in That's one thing I know about because, of course, like I said, I watch him on KR Strike Force's Instagram page, and he gives out tips on spares and how to adjust during bowling. So I pay attention to him quite a bit, and he goes on to strike in the 8th frame. Now on the other side, Zach has rattled off 5 strikes in a row, setting himself up beautifully for the 10th frame. Now Benji tries to put some pressure on Zach in the 9th frame as he finally strikes on that right lane, and in the 10th he starts off with 2 strikes, but in his last shot he comes high to only get 9 pins. Now Zach continues to strike, and he strikes out, and he moves on to the next match against the Fro Kyle Troup. Now I gotta say, Kyle Troup's fit for today and his match outfit is beautiful, paying homage to his daddy Gape with something that he wore way back when he bowled on tour. So we love that. Kyle always comes with the fits matching from head to toe. Now in match 2, Zach decides to stick with that black hammer, and he strikes in the 1st frame. Well, Kyle Troup starts off with that IQ Tour. Wait, what is it? IQ Tour 78U? Is that what it's called? I hope so. I hope I didn't get it wrong. Now in the 2nd frame, Zach leaves a 10 pin and he whiffs it. But in the 3rd, he gets back on the strike train. And one thing I want to say about this match, because there's not much to talk about, because these guys, after that, these guys were just striking the whole match, honestly. But Kyle Troup was in a different headspace.
Started with a double.
I don't know what was going on up here during this match, but he was talking to himself, like just zoned in, like different. And then like going into commercial break, like there was just a random outburst, like or let me stop doing that. I don't know what was going on, but I kind of like it, kind of was worried because I was just like, what? But he was just a different type of locked in, reading a book during the telecast. I've seen bowlers do that, read books during tournaments and read books during league, but a telecast? And with doing all this, he starts off with the front 8 and could have got it in the 9th, but the messenger slides right in front of it and misses the 10 pin. But he goes on to strike out for the win. So
That was in. Kyle Troup. Oh my goodness. He's looking at reactive right there. Might be his fault.
match number 3, Marshall Kent versus Kyle Troup. Kyle starts off with another messenger that misses the 10 pin again. But one thing that happens is that we're focusing on his thumb.
Slight concern entering this matchup. What is it?
Well, I just got the thumbs up from thumbs up while we're looking at Kyle's thumb. I just got the okay from Tim Mack, the tour rep for Kyle. Kyle was high-fiving somebody in the stands as we went to break, and he caught the guy's ring on his thumb.
So it's kind of those freak accident things, but it's something to keep an eye on, because although he doesn't use his thumb, he has to hold that ball with 2 hands, and it rests on there, so it still kind of mess with you. Now Marshall starts off way different and not how anyone is suspected, with a gutter ball.
Oh my goodness gracious. Start.
Now Marshall decides to start off with the GB4 hybrid, and he throws a gutter ball to start off the match. And on his spare attempt, he doesn't even get them all. He leaves 2 pins. But he locks in, and he's like, all right, let me calm down. And he strikes in the 2nd. Troup in the 2nd frame strikes, but in the 3rd frame, here it is. He hears the PBA announcers and commentators.
Can we talk after I'm done? Come on, guys.
he hears them and he just kind of is teed off about it, even though they've been doing it all season. AJ has said something once before, but this is why I wish that they would have the PBA announcers. Yes, they could do the whole side thing where in the beginning they're standing there on the lane saying like, oh, welcome to the PBA, da, 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 and going over all that. But then after that, move them to a separate building or separate area of the bowling alley, or put them in the truck or something, because you don't hear basketball players or football players asking commentators to shut up there. They're in their own little area and they say what they want and they talk normal. Put them in a nice little area to themselves so it doesn't disturb the players, and they can talk to us and keep it going. Especially if they have like a guest on there, you don't want to be like, shh, hold on, we'll hear that after the approach, or have to get whispering. This ain't golf, people. This is bowling. And back to what Kyle Troup did, he left the 310, but he picked it up. So Marshall gets 2 lucky strikes back to back in the second and third frame, but he gets a good strike in that fourth frame. Kyle goes a little bit high in the fourth frame to lead the 4-pin, and if you look at his face, he looks a little bit irritated. I don't know if he heard them again, but you could just tell by his face he's just like, or maybe he's frustrated with the lane. I don't know, but read his face. And in the 5th frame, the 10-pin just taunts him and wobbles and wobbles and wobbles, but doesn't fall. He picks it up though. When he goes back to his seat, that's where he looks back and he's talking to somebody, but he says that he feels his heartbeat in his thumb.
Heartbeat is in my thumb because they fucking broke it almost.
Kent continues to strike in the 5th frame, but he leaves the 4-pin in the 6th, but he picks it up. He strikes in the 7th, but he pulls this thing in the 8th.
How much pride you've got. You can sense it. Oh boy. Oh boy.
Sorry, I had to look down and make sure I had the right thing. Now, let's rewind a little bit, because coming out of the commercial break, Kyle bangs out 4 in a row.
Troup is showing us why he was the United States Open champion.
Now fast forward to the 9th, where Marshall strikes, and then in the 10th frame, he Brooklyns his first shot and strikes. He pulls again and gets 7, and he picks the 3 pins up, and all Kyle needs now is 17 pins to win this match. To start off, he leaves the 10 pin, but he picks it up, and to finish it off, he strikes to move on to the championship match. Kyle Troup, EJ Tackett, a rematch from this year's US Open, but this time for a championship title. Let's get into it. Kyle decides to stick with that 78 IQ Tour thingy red ball, and he leaves the 10 pin to start the match and picks it up. EJ decides to start with the go-to ball in the motive line, the Venom Shock, and it comes high in the first frame to leave the 6 pin, but in the second frame he strikes. Kyle also strikes in the second frame, but in the third frame he gets a little fast and he leaves 3 pins, but he has no problem picking those up. EJ comes back to strike in the third and the fourth frame. Kyle Troup comes out and he strikes in the fourth frame, but he decides to take a timeout before he goes back to this left lane, which he has been struggling on, and he switches to the classic IQ Tour, I do believe,
To it and go.
and strikes with it.
Here it comes.
Commit to it. Yeah, you dirty animal.
And this messenger finally was signed, sealed, and delivered. EJ, after getting a triple, leaves a 10 pin in the 5th frame, but in the 6th frame, he takes a Brooklyn strike as his Venom Shock just took off on him. Kyle Troup decides to stick with that IQ Tour 78U on the right lane in the old school IQ tour on the left lane, and he strikes in the 6th and the 7th frame. EJ comes out in the 7th frame to make this a 1-pin match. But in the 8th frame, he leaves a 10-pin as his messenger missed, but he picks it up. Now Kyle has a 2-pin lead. Now with a 2-pin lead, Kyle almost leaves the bucket, but you gotta love the pin action as it went from the bucket to the 5-pin. Of course, I had my hand up, but Kyle picked it up, so boo. And in the 9th frame, he leaves the 10-pin and picks it up. So if Kyle getting those spares, this game is back in EJ Tackett's lap. All he really has to do is lock in and get these strikes. But on the next shot, he releases it, and it looks like a great ball, but it gives him the worst break. And to make matters worse, his ball doesn't even hook, and he only gets the 8-pin. Well, it barely hooked, barely got the 8-pin. EJ then goes to the 10th frame, and on his first ball, he gets a high strike, but then leaves a 10-pin and spares it to end the match. Now, it's up to Kyle. All he has to do, because of that bad break EJ got, all he has to do is get 8 pins. So you know what he does? He comes out and he strikes and he seals the PBA Just Bear Indiana Classic trophy.
As he finishes one book.
This makes title number 2 for Kyle Troup this season. And I got to say, I don't know what this week all entailed for him, but how this man was locked into this show and was acting and all this stuff going on. I mean, goodness gracious, this man was laser focused on getting this title. And plus, this adds to his chance of winning PBA Player of the Year this year. I mean, Bill O'Neal right now is looking good. EJ has had 4 straight TV show appearances, but Kyle Troup now has 2 titles. So, I mean, those probably are the top 3 if you really had to pick or choose at this moment. But we still got a whole lot more season left, so Lord knows what could happen. I'm very, very excited to see what happens. And yeah, I will see you guys when we talk about the Delaware Classic. I wish I could be there. It is what it is.